Welcome to the 100-Yard Dash Football Podcast presented by the Chiefs Focus Network, where you talks about the NFL from end zone to end zone and all 100 yards in between. Without further ado, here's you.
Yo, what it do? I am you, and this is the 100-Yard Dash Football Podcast, where I'm talking about the NFL from end zone to end zone and all 100 yards in between. Again, I am you, and I'm your host. What's happening? We try to do this thing about once a week on Wednesdays at least. I'm going to tell you. But anyway, forget it. I'll come back to that. But we got a good show for you today. I got a good show for you today. Try to do this thing once a week. And it's wherever you can find your podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Apple Music, so forth, so on, and what have you. I look forward to doing this thing, and I appreciate everybody listening, watching, streaming, whatever you're doing. I appreciate it. Now, I'm still learning the layout of everything with the live stream and everything, but we getting there. We getting there. We are getting there. So I appreciate it. And shoot, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. We talking about week 15. Week 15, this is one of the craziest weeks I've seen. Well, not really, but this is one of the closest races I've seen, especially given some of the teams that are doing it, right? When I think about those teams, I'm thinking about the Dolphins, I'm thinking about Seattle, the 49ers, so forth, so on, and what have you. Like, it's just so much going on. So, without further ado, let's hop on into it. Ooh, that was a little bit much, but whatever. The 49ers on that Thursday night game, the 49ers whoop the Seattle Seahawks, and the score doesn't say it, but to me, San Francisco pretty much dominated this game. They pretty much dominated this game. Let me get my notes here, but they dominated the game. They did that double toss, which was kind of dope in my opinion. It worked to perfection, and you can't really argue with success. And that's my thing. You could try, but you can't really argue with success, and that worked very, very well. Uh, I think, and I look at Travarius Ward dealing with him leaving the Chiefs and then going to the 49ers. He's been all right for the 49ers, but he hasn't been the dog or the guy that I thought he would be going to them. And it's interesting because I was like, where he's not really popping out off the screen, right? But this game he did get a fumble recovery and return. Didn't get a touchdown, but he did return it. So kudos to Mooney, Travarius. Bosa, 15 and a half sacks. I guess, I mean, we already knew who Nicholas John Bosa was or is. So 15 and a half sacks. That dude is on a tear. Kittle's second touchdown was really nice. San Francisco's gaining steam, man, and they're beating in division rivals. So Seattle drops to 7-7, while San Francisco improves to 10-4. Dang. So lightning strikes Matt Ryan twice as he and the Colts lose to the Vikings. The Vikings make history and perform the biggest comeback in NFL history. The Colts score 36, the Vikings score 39, final OT. So the Vikings mount the biggest comeback in NFL history, 33 points, and they come back to beat the Colts in overtime. That is the biggest comeback, and Vikings, I have to say this. I don't know if I really believed in the Vikings at first. I do. I mean, I believe in what they're doing, and it's just happening on a year where Aaron Rodgers is not performing up to the level that he's supposed to, right? But but Vikings 10 wins. There are 10 wins that they have this season that are all one possession, which to me that develops some sort of metal in you. You know what I mean? It develops a stick to itiveness, a relent that you don't normally see in teams, and this could really help them in the playoffs. So coming back to on the Colts, it's the Colts. I get it, but you got to realize coming back from they were getting whooped by the Colts. I think at one point it was like 28-0, something like that. So it as much as I like Kirk Cousins, but I don't know if I believe in him being an elite quarterback or being even a great quarterback. I think there's tiers, there's levels to this thing. And he and his team showed that they can be a force to be reckoned with in this NFC. We'll see what happens. Let's go to the Baltimore Ravens losing to the Cleveland Browns. 9-5, the Baltimore Ravens are, and the Cleveland Browns are 6-8. 13-3 was the final score. Lamar, stay seated, please. Just don't try to be a hero here. I think it's a bad idea to try to be a hero here. Because, I mean, yes, you want to do the best for your team. I get it. I completely get it. Nah, bro. And I don't know if he has plans. I don't know if he actually has plans to play again this year. However, if I were you, I would definitely stay seated because this is an opportunity for you to use to as leverage. And there are not many times people have leverage against their employer. There are not many times people have leverage against their employer. And you got it, man. You got it. Use it. Use it. What else do I have? I got some other notes here. The Ravens, they're 0-2. They were 0-2 in red zones, in the red zone for that game. And why in the world did you stop running the ball? Why? Just you as I get coming from a team that throws a lot. My team throws a lot. My favorite team throws a lot. But this is the Ravens. This is part of their DNA. Running the ball was supposed to be part of their DNA. Why they stop? Why did they stop running the ball? They were only down 2 scores. And when I say scores, I'm not talking about touchdowns. They were only down by 2 scores. The offensive coordinator went into desperation mode way too early for some reason. J.K. Dobbins was popping off at like 9-10 yard runs per carry at that point, but yet they kept throwing. And I don't know if that has anything to do with that upcoming contract of Lamar's, but hey, you got to realize you, the Ravens, while throwing it is one thing, running is in your DNA, and you got to deal with that. You got to acquiesce, as it were. I just don't understand. I'm done talking about this game. Miami Dolphins lose a hard fought one to the Bills, 32-29. Miami's 8-6. Buffalo improves to 11-3. I'm gonna be honest with you. I do, because y'all know my team is the Chiefs, but I love the NFL for what it is, for everything it is, and everything it is. So I am rooting for the Buffalo Bills to lose. Now, with that being said, there are a couple of teams that I'm looking to see go down, and the Buffalo Bills was one of them. And they just improved to 11-3. The Dolphins, another team that was running the ball effectively and decided to go away from it. I don't understand. And coming from a guy who loves an Andy Reid team, I never understand when we do it either. I just don't get it. But they were popping off. They were getting 7 yards a pop. I think it was 7+ yards per carry. but they chose to throw on so many downs. And the Dolphins. The Dolphins choose to throw on so many downs, third downs, and they weren't able to convert it. And you got to realize against the Bills, you can't do that kind of thing. They're in your division. Y'all play each other hard anyway. If you want to say that you're back, you better realize that you're back. I mean, as a Dolphin, if you want to say that you're here, these are the kind of games that you win. These are the kind of games because you could have swept them. This was a game where you should have been planting your flag in the center field of Buffalo and saying that we here. But hey, what's done is done. What's done is done. Let's keep it moving because if you continue to win, there's a possibility you see these guys in the playoffs, and that's going to be big. Mitch Morse, the center for the Buffalo Bills, had another concussion, and I have to say that because this could be a huge issue moving forward for them, for the Buffalo Bills. Mitch Morse has a history of concussions. That's the reason he's in Buffalo right now. He got let go from the Chiefs, so prayers out to Mitch. Hope he can, recover. But this could be a big letdown, a big hit to the Buffalo Bills. Let's move on to the Atlanta Falcons and the New Orleans Saints. I didn't want to watch this game. It's an NFC South matchup. No bore, snooze. No thanks. I'm good. But I did watch it. Both teams are 5-9 now after the Atlanta Falcons lose to the New Orleans Saints. Desmond Ridder started, obviously. I think that was the one thing I was looking at. I really wasn't looking at the game for its for its contest. I wasn't looking at it for that reason. I think the main thing I took out of it was just seeing what the youngster has. ATL is currently the 7th pick in the first round of the 2023 draft. And I don't believe, and I know I'm talking about the loser of this game more than the winner, but whatever. That's the more interesting story to me. 3 out of 7 teams probably will be picking a quarterback, which means that, theoretically we'll be picking a quarterback, which means that they'll be number 4 down the list. Houston, probably taking a quarterback. Chicago, they will not. Seattle from Denver. I don't know if they'll take a quarterback, but the Lions sound like they believe in Jared Goff. I don't know, but the Cardinals ain't taking a quarterback. The Colts probably will, and that leaves the Falcons. So, this matters. This matters a little bit. Seeing what Ridder has, seeing if you want to continue with him into the next season, because hopefully the hope for Atlanta is hoping that you won't have to be in this situation anymore, picking in the top 10. And that means you'll get your pick of the litter as far as young QBs are concerned. Now, I might have to eat my words on this game. I was talking to my comrades in the Chiefs Focus group that I'm with which obviously this show is presented by Chiefs Focus. Shout out. And I mentioned that I don't know how long back this was. I think I mentioned like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe 4, that I don't know if I believe in Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if I believe in Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. But right now, I'm eating my words. What's up, JP? I was talking to my guys a few weeks ago, and I mentioned that I wasn't sure if Trevor Lawrence was the guy. And when I say that, I mean he could be a viable in a league where Davis Mills is fine, almost beat the Chiefs this past week. In the league where that can happen, I say that to say that Trevor Lawrence, I didn't think he was getting it. I really didn't think he was getting it in the NFL, but he's starting to come on over the past few weeks, showing that he's worthy of this number one pick. It's clicking for him now. When I was real quick story. When I started my job, there was this young lady that was there. She didn't really want to train me at all. And you know, I moved to this department that I didn't really want to go to, but hey, they were moving departments around. And so um this young lady didn't want to train me at all. But it took me a little while because I didn't want to leave the department I was in, but they rearranged us anyway. It's an overnight shift and I didn't want to be there anyway, but and also it takes me a little bit longer to learn the processes of how things are working. So it took me a second. There wasn't anything written down when I was training and all that kind of crap. I had to basically develop that when I got in there. But it took me a second. This young lady tried to get me fired, right? This young lady tried to get me fired for like 2 weeks. Then that third week, it clicked and I was able to get through it, be able to develop my own way of doing things within the scheme that they had at work. And I'm not playing football. I'm talking about being a front desk manager at a hotel. That's what I'm talking about. And I was able to finally get it and it clicked and I was able to start doing things and without asking so many questions. And I mean, now the good part of that story is I found out that the young lady was trying to get me fired. Legitimately, she was in my boss's office every day talking about he's not working, he's not working. I went on to marry this woman. How crazy am I? But but I say all that to say this. Trevor Lawrence is getting it. It's starting to click for him. Doug Peterson is getting him to where he is now. It's coming to him and it's smooth. He's smoother, he's better. It's just getting there. And I like it. They're one game behind the Titans for the AFC South. And for the boys, the Cowboys, they lose 34-40. And the Cowboys dropped to 10-4. Jags improved to 6-8. This was a classic McCarthy giveaway game. I have no belief in Mike McCarthy as the head coach of any team. Sorry. Duval. Don't look now. But the Lions could actually make the playoffs. The Lions could make the playoffs. I don't have a roaring. I need a roar sound effect, but I don't have one. So they beat the Jets 21-17. I actually believe in the Jets. And again, I've already apologized on the show about putting my nail in the coffin for firing Dan Campbell earlier this season. But any of you WWE fans, y'all know the Undertaker music when that bell rings, gong, gong, and then the Undertaker does his thing. The Undertaker does his thing. That's exactly what Dan Campbell and the Lions are doing right now. This is a team. This is the team that's really coming on in the last few. And then the other side of it is the Jets. I think they take on the persona of their QB, and this week it was Zach Wilson. And I just think Zach Wilson is not, I don't want to say he's not a team player because I don't know the guy, but he's definitely not, I don't know what that is. He's definitely not doing what Mike White is. Mike White is out here encouraging his teammates, willing them to win. But Zach Wilson seems to be out for himself, and the team feels it. And they play down, unfortunately, to everyone else. And I just don't understand it. JP says his comments say he's definitely not a team player. He ain't. He just ain't. And it reminds me of the Cardinals when they picked, I can't remember his name now. Oh, I can't remember his name. But he came out in that I don't even remember what draft pick he was. I think he's with the Atlanta Falcons now, but it doesn't matter. He's definitely not a team player, and the team feels it. And they had some momentum. Now that momentum has been stifled, and I don't know if they'll be able to pick it back up, especially in the AFC East, where the Buffalo Bills are a powerhouse. The Miami Dolphins are trying to get it right. I just don't know, but we'll see. Detroit, keep it moving, man. Next game, the Chiefs beat the Houston Texans in a head scratcher for me. This is one of the most odd games I've ever seen. As Patrick Mahomes has one of the best games in terms of his completion percentage, um, and all that, but he just squeaks out a win. They just squeak out a win in overtime. A win against a team that only has one win. A win against a team that will probably pick number one in the overall in the 2023 draft. How they were in this game so close, I have no idea. Now, granted, I understand that they played hard, hardcore. They were all in there, but and I know many will say the refs are against us. I never choose that as one of those things that I want to hang my hat on. I will say there were some questionable calls, but it is what it is. But Frank Clark was able to knock the ball out of Davis Mills' hands in overtime, and we were able to recover that fumble. I think it was Willie Gay that recovered that fumble, so shouts out to him. But let me throw this out there. Even though this was a narrow win, the Kansas City Chiefs improved to 11-3. Houston is 1-12-1. Patrick Mahomes was amazing in this game. And we only narrowly won, but Patrick Mahomes has now the opportunity. He has a streak of, I don't remember how many completions he did towards the end of that game. So I think it was 8 straight completions. And I think he has the opportunity to break the completion record. I don't know what it is. I can't remember. He has the opportunity to break the completion record next week. I think he needs 5 completions to start the game to break the record or something. So I'm interested to seeing what happens, and we'll go from there. But it's a weird game, not to say the least. But anyway, we keep it moving. The Philadelphia Eagles improved to 13-1 against the Chicago Bears, who go down to 3-11. 25-20 was the score of the game. Philly wins against Chicago. And I feel like JP says, I feel like there's a few QBs in the league that are a me first guy. It's more of a competition for a chance to surpass others individually rather than realizing it takes a team to be great. That goes back to what we were talking about earlier. That is absolutely true. But Philadelphia Eagles, and I don't really typically like talking about the losers when it comes to these games because, 2 is not a winner and 3 nobody remembers. But did Justin Fields look better than Jalen Hurts in this game? I'm only asking. And if you agree, you agree. If you don't, that's fine too. I just wondered. Does Philadelphia, did Justin Fields look better than Jalen Hurts? I think he did, which says a lot in your MVP campaign. But they still won. The Eagles are rolling. There is a legit possibility that they might only lose one game in a 17-game season. And that's nothing short of amazing. Nothing short of amazing, in my opinion. Nothing short of amazing. So kudos to the Eagles. Justin Fields, keep rumbling, young man. Keep rumbling. Now, let's go to this next game. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to be honest with you, neither of these teams are probably making the playoffs, so I really kind of only paid a little bit of attention to the score mainly on this game, so I really have no points for this. But Pittsburgh beats the Carolina Panthers. Pittsburgh is 6-8. Carolina's 5-9. They're not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs quite yet, but I don't really see either of these teams making the playoffs. So we gonna keep it moving. Neither of these two teams making the playoffs, and they're not mathematically out of it either. But still an interesting situation because Denver's a dumpster fire, Arizona's a dumpster fire. Arizona Cardinals lose to the Denver Broncos in a 24-15 um, situation. Denver Broncos 24, Arizona 15. They're both 4-10. And again, I'm talking about the losers here. Steve Keim is taking an indefinite leave of absence, citing health reasons. How can I put this diplomatically? Diplomatically. I don't know if this was the plan for him so he wouldn't get fired. I don't know. And I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it isn't, but yeah, Steve Keim, I'm not really a fan of his. And that's just me making sure you understand that. The Cardinals could get a clean slate for GM and head coach next season. And the Bidwells, owner of the team, would behoove themselves to take this opportunity and figure it out. Because, I've read a few articles where Sean Payton they say, I don't know exactly what Sean Payton has said, but they say that Sean Payton might be looking at the Arizona Cardinals as a possible place to come back and coach again. Which, if he did come back, he would be one of those guys that comes back with heavy control over the organization. And with Steve Keim out of the way, that is a real possibility. You have so many things that happens in Arizona. JP says the GM has been the issue for his tenure with Arizona. He needs to go. In fact, the Arizona Cardinals with Steve Keim at the helm has been kind of like the Chiefs and Carl Peterson situation. Carl Peterson was able to put butts in the seats, but he wasn't really, I don't know if he was committed on winning the big one or even getting to the big one. But Steve Keim has not been great at drafting over the last few years. He didn't hire the right head coach. I believe that with every fiber of my being. I don't know how Cliff was able to parlay getting fired from Texas Tech and then end up being an assistant with the Rams, but parlay that into being a head coach in the NFL. I don't understand how that happened, but he did it. And here's where we are. So this is what you get. Denver Broncos, you know what's happening to them. The Waltons just bought that team, so we don't know. They're stuck with Russell Wilson. I don't know what their plan is on the head coach. I don't know what their plan is as head coach. So we'll see what happens with them too. Let's keep it moving. The New England Patriots lose to the Las Vegas Raiders in a game that they probably should have won had Jacoby Myers just kind of. And I understand. Sometimes you think it's so quick that you end up making a mistake. You end up making a mistake. And Jacoby Myers just made a mistake. He was operating as if he had to get something done when he did that backwards pass. You were at the end of regulation. You didn't have to do anything. Okay. But, Jacoby Myers didn't give the Raiders an opportunity to Raider. In fact, he just went ahead and Raidered for them, but he was on the wrong team. So I just don't understand. But it's one of those things you got to come back from, because if you let this situation get in your mental psyche, you could really go far down. So just keep it moving, man. JP says, oh my, what the hell was that with a tie game and no time left on the clock? I don't understand it either, man. But the New England Patriots lose to the Vegas Raiders. Vegas scored 30. Patriots scored 24. The Raiders are 6-8. The Patriots are 7-7. This next game should have AFC playoff teams worried. The Cincinnati Bengals beat the Denver Broncos. The Cincinnati Bengals beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 34-23. The Bucks are 6-8. The Bengals are 10-4. Now, normally I'm all for, as a Chiefs fan, I'm all for seeing the Bucks go down. Okay. They I don't know. I am cool with seeing the Buccaneers go down, but not to this team. I'm sorry. The Cincinnati Bengals are just getting stronger as the weeks go by. And if you're in the AFC, you gotta worry. You gotta think about these guys. Not necessarily worry about them, but you gotta think about them because hey, this is a problem. They're picking up steam. This is exactly what happened last year. They started to win, and it was over for a lot of teams, Chiefs included. And so you have to think about that situation and realize that this might not bode well for a lot of AFC teams. I believe that they could really cause some hell in the playoffs. And by them, I don't mean the Bucks, I mean the Bengals. In the interest of time, I'm just going to keep it moving. The Tennessee Titans lose to the Los Angeles Chargers. The Titans are 7-7. The Chargers are 8-6. The Chargers score 17. The Tennessee Titans score 14. So I was waxing poetic a bunch of weeks ago and talking about this team under their head coach, whose name is Mike Vrabel. Under Mike Vrabel, the Tennessee Titans under Mike Vrabel. And ever since I did that, they've been going downhill, just sliding downhill, and they've got nowhere to go. And now they're 7-7. They had sole possession of the AFC South at one time, but Jacksonville, Duval is out here. They're 6-8. We got 3 games to go or so. Come on, man. There's a possibility. There's a world where the Jacksonville Jaguars could make the playoffs ahead of the Tennessee Titans. I don't know. And the Chargers, they look like they're getting it together. They're figuring it out. Squeaking out wins, so forth, so on, and what have you. But I'm not really worried about the Chargers. We'll see what happens. But the one question I have, the Chargers haven't made the playoffs in 2 years. If they make the playoffs this year, does that save their head coach's job for the Chargers? I don't think it should, because I also read an article where oh man, the former, I was just talking about him possibly wanting the Arizona job, but Sean Payton. Sean Payton was looking at the possibility of going to the Chargers as well. And if you're the Chargers and you have a winning record, but you still don't make the playoffs, I think it's time for a regime change. I do. But, who am I? I'm just a guy talking on these airwaves about things that I see. That's all I'm doing. But let's keep it moving. The Sunday night game, the New York Giants versus the Washington Commanders. And let's go say the score. The 20-12, New York beats the Washington Commanders 20. Washington scores 12. It's a division team for them. Giants improved to 8-5-1. Washington falls to 7-6-1. Of course, one of the biggest, what's the word I'm looking for? The biggest stories out of this game comes from Terry McLaurin doing his thing. Um, he's lining up and the refs call him offsides. I think it was offsides. But I enjoy seeing Heineke come back from these games. Like, I'm not a fan of the Commanders. I'm not a fan of I'm not even a fan of Ron Rivera anymore because I think sometimes I think he just stands in his own way. But I like Heineke. I like Tyler Heineke. Taylor. I don't know if it's Tyler, but I like him. And I like Terry McLaurin. So seeing them go down like this is seeing the situation in which they fell to the New York Giants is pretty disheartening for anybody who's a Washington fan. The Giants, I root for, I like their offensive coordinator because I wanted him as the offensive coordinator of Kansas City, but that didn't work out. But whatever, it's fine. The Commanders got screwed. They got screwed, chopped and screwed. And the NFL will have to address whatever situation. They got to address the ref situation. I don't know what they're going to have to do. I was listening to the Chiefs Focus First and 10 show last night, and they were talking about how, you can make a few of these guys full-time, the refs full-time, and that be their only job. So, you're able to study exactly the letters of what is and what isn't a catch, you know, um, so forth and so on, what have you. You're able to study a lot more because this is your only job. Because these refs, this is not their only job. These guys are not full time. I'm not sure exactly what the answer is, but I don't think having full time refs is a bad idea. JP says Terry should be a Chief right now. Yeah, he should, but who who would Washington have if they didn't have Terry? They'd have nobody. So, well, they would have somebody. There's other people. There's good receivers on that team, but I did think the Chiefs wanted Terry McLaurin, scary Terry, but that just didn't work out this year. But he's got 3 years, so we'll see what happens after that. All right. Last but not least, the Rams lose to the Packers 24-12. The Rams fall to 4-10. The Packers are 6-8. I read an article last night talking about how Matthew Stafford doesn't want to retire. Why not? Why? I guess when you have love for the game, you want to stay in the game that you love. And I get it. I thought they should have retired last season, and I told a few guys that, and of course they brought it back in my face. I don't care. It's fine. I'm married. I have to admit I'm wrong sometimes. So don't tell my wife I said that. But I have to admit I'm wrong sometime, and I was definitely wrong about Matthew Stafford. I thought he was going to be ready to retire after winning the Super Bowl because I don't think he'll ever win another one. Let's get that straight. And I thought the same thing about Aaron Donald. He's at the top of his game. He won a Super Bowl. Why not ride into the sunset on the high, right? That's what I thought. But somebody told me, I was talking to somebody, it's like, and then they said, why not roll with what you have? Why not keep going? If you still want to play. Doesn't matter if you're number one. What if you're number two? You fall to number two. That's not that bad. Or three for that matter. You're still getting paid handsomely because both of them got that extension. You're still getting paid. You're still at the top of your game, and you're not bad. You're top 5 in what you do. Aaron Donald, I'm talking about, and I'm also talking about Matthew Stafford. So why not keep going? I'm not in agreement with that, but hey, everybody does things for different reasons. Everybody doesn't play football for the same reasons. Everybody does it. Everybody doing your job right now, you ain't doing it because you love it. Everybody's not doing it because they just love being in the industry. They are. Some people just in it for the benefits. Some people just in it for the hours. Some people are in it for the camaraderie of for their friends are there. There are a lot of reasons people keep or stay on or get certain jobs. And Aaron Donald is one of the best to ever do it. Matthew Stafford finally won his Super Bowl. But I don't know. If they still got the fire, go right ahead. Now, who am I to tell you to hang it up when you're ready to keep going? JP says, same Rams, different year. His wife made that very clear. He's not retiring. His elbow is going to be a problem going forward in life. Yeah, no doubt. Donald still has so much juice. He about retired last season. The Ram begged him to come back. This will be his last season. Look, he's one of the best to ever do it. One of the best defensive tackles to ever play this game. And just because, like I said, and I'll tell the guys when I'm wrong all the time. I will say I'm wrong. I'm wrong. He's not number 1. So he fell to number 2. Big deal. He's still at the top of his game, and he might not be defensive player of the year this year, but he's still dang good because his name is freaking Aaron Donald. So it wasn't a mistake for him to leave or to come back. So that's all I got, man. I appreciate everybody for listening. This went on a little bit longer than I planned. I try to do this thing about 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes once a week. So I appreciate you listening. You can find me on Stitcher, Twitch. This will be a podcast later, Facebook, Twitter, so forth, so on, what have you. Thank you, JP. And for all of you out there, if you're available to watch on Twitter, YouTube, so forth and so on, it'll be on there. So thank you all for listening. I looked at the numbers, and the listenership is great so far. So I definitely appreciate it. It doesn't go unnoticed. And I put a lot into these shows, and I plan on putting more into these shows moving forward. So appreciate you listening. That's all I got. And I guess that's all I got. Deuces.